Why is Gurgaon outperforming, say, a Mumbai or a Bangalore?
Bombay में there is a general propensity to invest in stocks. यहाँ लोगों को property से प्यार है.
Have you been surprised with the amount of migration that's happened from Delhi to Gurgaon?
People are now preferring Gurgaon over Delhi, preferring Gurgaon over South Delhi. If you sell 2 plots in South Delhi, you will end up buying maybe 1 plot in Gurgaon. That's the kind of price rise Gurgaon has seen over the last 4-5 years.
You're saying Gurgaon prices could be almost double of Delhi that way? Because if you're saying for 1:2,
Yes.
everybody makes me feel, Gurgaon prices have gone up so much.
Come on, Vishal, you can't say that.
What's the one big differentiator between a developer who can deliver well versus a developer who doesn't do well?
No gyan. One thing, intent.
How much should a salary be if you want to buy a mid-level home, and how much should it be if you want a premium home?
2.5-3 lakhs for a mid-segment home, and if it's a premium home, it should be over 5 lakhs. I am now predicting that very soon people will start finding maybe the golf course road as dated, and now gravitating towards what we are today calling the SPR, the Southern Peripheral Road. Now over the next 4-5 years, become the new center of Gurgaon.
I see a sellout headline, but very quickly the broker tells me I have so much stock with me. Give me a sort of breakup. But for the broader Gurgaon,
I would say 50-60% would be end users, 20-30% would be long-term investor, medium-term, and traders, I think not more than 10%, 15% maybe.
ये जो एकदम euphoria में, a lot of people have entered into some projects which have low booking amounts. Broker ने उनको convince किया कि you can flip it out. आप अभी book कर दो, फिर बाद में बेच दो 3 महीने में. They can't get out. They are trapped. How should a person look at it now?
As they say in stock, के stop loss होता है कि भाई आपने 100 रुपए का शेयर खरीदा, वो 80 रुपए का रह गया, आप stop loss अपना करो, बाहर निकल जाओ. So I think the same principle applies here in real estate. If you are stuck in a project, just cut your losses and move on in life.
In today's episode of Unravel, I'll be talking to India's fastest growing builder, Signature Global, a Gurgaon-based company that began operations in 2014, but today clocks bookings of over 10,000 crores per year. I caught up with Amit Kaicker of the company to understand some part of their journey and to know what's happening in the vibrant Gurgaon real estate market. But before hearing him out, a special announcement from my side. This episode marks the beginning of an association between Zerodha Media Network and me to raise the benchmark when it comes to real estate content and conversation. So thank you, Amit, for coming on the show. Gurgaon is one of the cities that is always fascinating. So, as a city and as a real estate market, how is Gurgaon at this point?
Thank you, Vishal. I think it's a pleasure having you here in Gurgaon, and I hope your travel from Bombay to here and your journey here has been welcoming.
Smooth, just that it's too hot.
Yes. So these are some things that we keep specially for people from Bombay. I think we want to make you feel the heat when you come here to Gurgaon. But I think you are in the right market at the right time. And as you're asking me, how is Gurgaon? I think the best time to be in Gurgaon is now. I think over the last few years, Gurgaon has changed the way real estate is sold, real estate is built, and real estate is perceived. And I think the journey for us has just begun.
Okay. Just when you say it's like Gurgaon is hot, right?
Absolutely.
हर एक रिपोर्ट जो मैं देखता हूँ, people अभी now make a big mention Gurgaon real estate के बारे में.
Correct.
What's driving Gurgaon real estate at this point, in your view? आपके mindset में, why is Gurgaon outperforming, say, a Mumbai or a Bangalore?
Okay. So I think it's been a long journey for Gurgaon, and Gurgaon has seen its ups and it's seen its downs. So if you remember, I don't know how long have you been tracking this market. I've been born and brought up in NCR. I'm a Delhi guy, a hardcore Delhi guy, born and brought up in Delhi, done my schooling in Delhi, done my college in Delhi, done my MBA in Delhi. And, I've seen this market for over 25 years. And there was a time when Gurgaon was a very, very poor cousin to Delhi. But over the last 10, 15, 20 years, Gurgaon has really taken off and it has become the address of choice for literally everyone. People are now preferring Gurgaon over Delhi, preferring Gurgaon over South Delhi, and there is no other market or micro market in the country that can compete with Gurgaon.
So you're saying Gurgaon is a preferred address even versus South Delhi?
Yes. There was a time when South Delhi used to be the premium location, just like South Bombay. Sobo used to be the place to be in. But today, no one wants to live in South Delhi. Everyone wants to be in Gurgaon.
So tell me, Amit, sitting in Mumbai, most of us don't understand NCR real estate.
Yeah.
What's exactly happening in Gurgaon?
आई थिंक सबको मालूम है कि 2004, 5, 6, 7, 8 एक एनसीआर मार्केट बूम पे थी, लेकिन मैं ये कहना चाहूंगा कि दैट एनसीआर मार्केट वाज इन एन अनरेगुलेटेड बूम एट दैट पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम। तो आज की डेट में क्या हुआ है कि जो हम ये बूम देख रहे हैं ये बहुत ही कंसिस्टेंट, रेगुलेटेड और एक जेन्युइन मार्केट बूम है, जहां जेन्युइन बिल्डर्स हैं, जेन्युइन बायर्स हैं, जेन्युइन इन्वेस्टर्स हैं और जेन्युइन सब कुछ काम हो रहा है।
तो पहले के जो मिस्टेक्स थे, आपने कहा यू यूज द वर्ड अनरेगुलेटेड बूम।
यस,
तो उसका
बिलीव इट, देयर वर बिल्डर्स, ऐसे बिल्डर्स भी मैंने देखे हैं, क्योंकि मुझे रियल एस्टेट में 25-27 साल हो गए हैं। एनसीआर में मैंने बहुत एक्सटेंसिवली साउथ दिल्ली में काम करा है, गुड़गांव में काम करा है, नोएडा में काम करा है। तो मैंने देखा है ऐसे ऐसे बिल्डर्स भी जिन्होंने जमीन तक नहीं खरीदी और प्रोजेक्ट लॉन्च करके माल बेच दी। सो व्हेन वी लुक एट द करंट सिचुएशन, वी आर इन अ फार 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 सिक्योर लोकेशन।
So do you expect, like आपने कहा you use the word unregulated boom, it I think describes the market pretty well. उसकी वजह से lot of projects got stalled.
Yes.
अभी आपको लगता है ऐसा रिस्क है गुड़गांव मार्केट में?
Not at all. And you know, I think the market is factoring in all of this very, very conveniently. So I'll tell you what happened. So eventually the market saw a very, very lean period between 2012 to 2018-19. But a lot of structural changes happened in that period which have now resulted in this kind of a boom. So to be very honest, I think the biggest impact, the biggest positive impact in the real estate market here in NCR was of RERA. I think RERA brought framework of regulation that gave the first thing to customers was trust. Where today you had an authority that was verifying land documents, approvals, designs, specifications and publishing it. So the moment you have something getting published, you have transparency and you get a lot of trust. So customers were able to see what they were buying. I think that was one big positive thing that happened to the industry.
अभी जब Amit, when I'm talking to so many people over here, okay, everybody makes me feel, Gurgaon prices have gone up so much.
Come on, Vishal, you can't say that.
No, 3x in 3 years, like Mumbai guys, they for every 5% hike, they feel like it's an achievement. यहाँ पे जब मैं देखता हूँ, people feel that it's gone up too fast, too much.
So I think that is because both the markets are different, and I agree, maybe the prices in Mumbai have not gone up as much as they wanted to because of the consistent supply that has happened. Here in Gurgaon, I think that level of supply is not available, and therefore the prices have gone up over the time. मेरी बात मानोगे तो मैं आपको ये चीज बोलूंगा, प्रॉपर्टी जिस रेट पे मिल जाए सस्ती है।
पर अभी के जो रेट्स हम बायर्स सी, उनको लगता है बहुत महंगा है for this time. You don't think so?
No, not at all, not at all. So as I said, if you look at how Gurgaon has developed, and again come back to the NCR market, there was a time when Faridabad used to be the hotspot of NCR. But what was Faridabad? Faridabad was an industrial town with manufacturing as its base. Now manufacturing, you understand, obviously creates demand, but the level of demand it creates has its own limits.
Because of low cost, low paying jobs.
I will not say that, but I'm saying there is a limit to what manufacturing can do to a region. And that is why even though Faridabad in the 80s and the early 90s was a hotspot, it never took off. I think the game changer, and for your information, Gurgaon also started off as a manufacturing hub. We had India's first big factory, Maruti, coming into Gurgaon, which actually triggered the growth in Gurgaon in the 70s and the 80s. Then the HSIDC developed Udyog Vihar. So Udyog, as you know, is manufacturing. Udyog Vihar came in. Udyog Vihar, different phases came in the 80s and the 90s. Manesar came in. So the focus entirely was on manufacturing. But thankfully, post-liberalization in 1991, the market changed and thankfully Gurgaon changed. And as they say, it never looked back. The kind of infrastructure that came into Gurgaon, the airport was a game changer. The corporates coming into Gurgaon were a game changer. And Gurgaon shifted from a manufacturing base to a service base. And today, this is what has happened. And a lot of people talk to me saying, oh, Noida will beat Gurgaon, or Greater Noida will beat Gurgaon, or this will happen.
They will, you think?
I don't think so. I don't think so. They are very good markets. They have been doing very well over the last 5-6 years. But I think Gurgaon is in a different league.
Why do you say
Greater Noida, again, has a manufacturing base. Noida today had a manufacturing base. I remember when I was in college, there was a time when Noida and Greater Noida were being developed. I'm a School of Planning and Architecture graduate. And A lot of master plans of Noida and Greater Noida were created in the School of Planning and Architecture. So I've literally seen Noida and Greater Noida on the drawing board. A lot of these sectors I've seen on the drawing board. And they were manufacturing hubs. Sector 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of Noida was envisaged as the manufacturing core of Noida. But Noida too has made that transition from manufacturing to services. But again, we need to realize the grade of services. Services in Noida and Greater Noida are not high margins, are low paying services. So Gurgaon, look at the transition. It started as a manufacturing hub, then went into services. If you remember the early 2000s, you had the BPOs. I'm sure everyone has read One Night at a Call Center. So One Night at a Call Center was based out of Gurgaon. So those BPO days, and now today, what is happening? We are seeing GCCs. What are GCCs? GCCs are today, again, understand the difference. You have IT services companies like Infosys, like TCS, like Wipro, and they were the ones initially who were leasing space, hiring employees, and they were doing service industries to a lot of corporates, big corporates. But today, because of the cost arbitrage, corporates are now setting up their own back-end offices. And these are what GCCs are. So imagine if I, as a big corporate, were outsourcing my work to TCS, but now I'm setting up my own back-end. So one, it'll be a boutique back-end. It'll be a high-end back-end. The employees that I use in that back-end, which is my own employee, will be a high-end paying job. So therefore, today, if you look at numbers, those GCCs are contributing to over 25% of the office intake in the country.
Amit, one question that a lot of people in Mumbai are perplexed about whenever there is a headline about Gurgaon.
I know what you're going to ask. Who buys in Gurgaon?
Yes, who's the one who buys in Gurgaon these homes? 2,000 crore sales done in one day, 5,000 crore in 6 hours. Who ये कौन खरीद रहा है?
No, so I'll tell you. See, there, as I've told you, there is genuine demand in Gurgaon, and there are demands from multiple locations, multiple segments. One is obviously the demand coming in from Delhi. People in South Delhi, West Delhi, Central Delhi are looking at coming in and living in Gurgaon, NRI segment. And that also at our Signature Global is a growing segment. So today we are generating a lot of interest from NRIs across the world in Signature Global. People from the Gulf, from Dubai, from Abu Dhabi, from London, from the US, from Southeast Asia, from Singapore, from Australia are showing massive interest in Signature Global and its all its products. We have to realize that people within Gurgaon who have tasted success in investments, in lifestyle, are further buying into Gurgaon. Also, I think as a legacy of that period between 2012, 13, 14 to this time, I think people are now showing a lot of trust into listed real estate developers.
Okay, since you said listed, Signature is a listed company.
Absolutely.
You had a pretty dazzling debut on the stock exchange.
Yes.
Surprising many people.
Yes.
Is being...
Why do you say surprise? I think for the kind of developer that Signature is, I think this was overdue.
Yeah, because I think one of the perceptions of a lot of people is that Signature was always this below the radar player who got the job done. It basically wasn't that high profile player who everybody knew of. So when you came and the numbers, I think within 10 years you have clocked a strong number.
Yes. So I think Signature started off in 2014 and over the next 8 to 10 years delivered multiple projects. You will be surprised to know that we've launched 52 projects. We've delivered over 16,000 homes. We have over 30,000 happy customers who've bought our houses. We've delivered over so many million square feet of development. So I think if you just look at the numbers, we have done astonishing numbers over the last 10 years. We are today a top 5 listed real estate developer. We've just reported an all-time high pre-sales number of 10,290 crore rupees. From a PAT perspective, our PAT has gone up 5 times. Our net debt has reduced considerably. Our margins have improved. Our revenues have gone up. And we have given a guidance of 12,500 crores for this particular financial year. So I think from just the number point of view, we have literally done a fantastic job.
You have scaled very fast in 10 years. Yes. What's the secret formula? Uske liye?
Very, very simple. deliver what you promise, and build on the trust of the customers. I think if you can do that, real estate is such a simple business. Build on the trust, deliver what you are promising, give timely delivery, and focus on what the customer needs. That is all you need to do. And this is what I think Signature is reaping the benefit. I think we have done, no other developer has done more before time delivery than Signature has done. I think we are known for before time delivery, the kind of quality that we are delivering, and the kind of customer satisfaction indices that our people have for our projects is unmatched.
Why do you think more developers in Gurgaon can't do what Signature is doing? Like, I was reading one of the reports which said, I think your average time from environmental clearance till the OC is 3.7 years.
Yes.
Which when I look at some of the launches that are happening or have happened last year and a half, I see possession periods of 2032, 2033.
Yes.
So why is it that others can't do what you're doing?
So I think what we have done right in Signature is we've streamlined our construction process. I think our technology, our team, our contractors, our processes are so streamlined that we do this in a kind of a very manufacturing kind of a way, where we know what comes now, what comes next, what comes the next after. And I think it's a very, very streamlined process. The management is very, very focused on construction delivery, on quality, and customer satisfaction.
Is real estate a manufacturing business according to you?
I would say yes and no, because very good question. There is a certain amount of manufacturing happening in real estate, but again, there is a bit of art as well. So it is basically, you have to manufacture, but you have to keep the aesthetics in mind. You have to keep the designs in mind. And most importantly, you have to keep the customer requirement in mind.
Has it been easy, you think, for many people to shift from Delhi to Gurgaon? Delhi always had that thing, ki why should I move to Gurgaon?
Yes.
Then that migration has happened slowly,
Yes.
but steadily.
Yes.
Are you surprised that many people made that shift?
No, they had no choice. So now I'll compare Delhi to Bombay, and I'll be very honest with you. I think Bombay has done a fantastic job, one in infrastructure creation over the last few years, and second in the redevelopment. So I was reading somewhere that there are over 2,000 buildings under redevelopment in Bombay today. So what is redevelopment? It is literally urban regeneration, where you had buildings, you had areas, you had slums which had been lying there for the last 50, 60, 70 years, decrepit absolutely. If you touch them and those buildings will fall, But thanks to the government, I think there's a very streamlined process for redevelopment.
Do you think Delhi needs a redevelopment policy now to become like Mumbai again?
So again, I think the difference is that Bombay being high-rise needed that redevelopment. Delhi primarily is low-rise. So low-rise redevelopment is happening at the plot level in South Delhi. So there is no re-densification happening in South Delhi, but there is no space for infrastructure. That low-level redevelopment is happening, which is increasing the population, increasing the density, increasing the pressure on services, and therefore people don't want to live. Parking is an issue, water is an issue, amenities are an issue, entertainment is an issue.
Have you been surprised with the amount of migration that's happened from Delhi to Gurgaon in the last 5 years?
Not at all, Vishal. I think what has happened is that everyone today wants a quality of living. I'd say, आज customer को क्या चाहिए? आप बताओ. What does a customer want? Today, a customer is not buying a flat. He's not buying an apartment. He's not buying your Italian marble or Grohe fittings or this. And, today a customer wants an experience. And that, I think, has been our USP at Signature Global. We are very proud to say that we are not developers of apartments. We are today developers of ecosystems.
Do you expect this migration to continue?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because today the customer wants an experience which he can only get in an ecosystem. And that ecosystem is missing. So I'm saying today in South Delhi, for example, or West Delhi or Central Delhi or North Delhi for that matter, people are living a life that they want to live because they see a certain set of people who are living the life that they want to live. And this is again very, very historic. I am a very avid reader of history. So I'll tell you, migration is very, very common in Delhi. When, if you remember, Shah Jahan built what we today call Shah Jahanabad. And it was the most happening city in the 16th century and the 17th century. But then it became congested. And in the 18th and 19th century, people started leaving Shahjahanabad and moving into what is today North Delhi, Daryaganj, Central Delhi, when the Britishers built Central Delhi. So people in Delhi are used to migration.
One of the reasons I asked that question is that I basically understand the migration, that
Yes.
it's similar to what happened in South Bombay to the suburbs, because
Yes.
you had standalone buildings without amenities, you moved to gated communities.
Yes. Within South Bombay, it took you hours to reach from one place to another. The same thing has happened here in Delhi.
Exactly. But in that, like in Delhi at one point, I think for one property you owned at Delhi, you could have got two properties in Gurgaon.
Which used to happen.
Can you will migration stop now because that balance has changed?
It will change. Trust me, I've seen families who sold one plot in South Delhi and they would buy 2 or 3 plots in Gurgaon and build their homes, and the brothers would live happily forever after. But today, I think what has happened is, and very soon, I think what will happen is that the reverse will happen. If you sell 2 plots in South Delhi, you will end up buying maybe 1 plot in Gurgaon. That's the kind of price rise Gurgaon has seen over the last 4-5 years and will continue to see for the next. I am being very, very upfront. I am telling you, Gurgaon is at the beginning of one of its biggest booms. People who are naysayers, who are saying, oh, property prices are at their peak, they will fall, they will crash, are not aware of what is happening.
So basically, if I understand right, Amit, you're saying Gurgaon prices could be almost double of Delhi that way, because if you're saying for 1:2.
Yes, it will very soon. It has almost caught up. Plot rates in certain parts of Gurgaon are almost at par to certain parts of South Delhi today.
Is there something besides fundamentals that's driving this? Like NCR is known to be like a speculative.
No,
market.
I think that speculative streak in NCR is over, and especially in Gurgaon it is over. People realize that you can't flip properties, you can't flip assets. Even if there are investors, the investors are here long term. There is no short-term investor today. And at Signature Global, we are very proud to say that most of our buyers are end users today.
Okay, so but then leaving Signature Global aside, I think you guys have been in that space where your focus has been end users.
Yes.
But for the broader market, like when I just see some of my interaction with brokers, I see a sellout headline, but very quickly the broker tells me I have so much stock with me. So are investors really out of Gurgaon market in a big way?
No, investors will never go out because the kind of returns that Gurgaon gives. So everyone wants to invest in Gurgaon, and investors will continue to invest in Gurgaon. But I think the success of Gurgaon is that there is a large portion of end users also available here in Gurgaon. And that is what I think is driving demand. That is what is driving price rise, and it will continue to drive.
Give me a sort of breakup. If I was to look at for the broader market, every company will have a different number.
Absolutely.
I know. But for the broader Gurgaon,
not just the market, but also every product type would have a different breakup. So I would broadly say, I would divide the segment into 3 parts. One is the trader, which is a short-term trader who wants to flip a product and everything. The second is an investor who wants to stay in till at least 2-3 years, 4 years maybe. And finally, we have an end user who wants to live in the property and enjoy the property. I would say 50-60% would be end users. Okay. 20-30% would be a long-term investor, medium-term investor. And traders, I think, typically are a vanishing tribe, and not more than 10%, 15% maybe.
So 15% traders, 20 to 25% investors, and remaining end users.
50-60% end user initially.
So Amit, one thing I'm gathering in the last 6 months over here is that, including some people I know personally in the Gurgaon real estate market, ये जो एकदम euphoria में, a lot of people have entered into some projects which have low booking amounts. Broker ने उनको convince किया कि you can flip it out. आप अभी book कर दो, फिर बाद में बेच दो 3 महीने में. They can't get out. They are trapped. How should a person look at it now?
So, frankly, Vishal, that's a very difficult situation to be in. But again, I'll give you a Delhi-Bombay comparison. तो आप शहर की साइकी समझो. Bombay में there is a general propensity to invest in stocks. People in Bombay are very comfortable. They've grown up seeing their fathers, their mothers, their bosses, their uncles, their aunts, and everyone. कि जी 25,000 रुपया है, स्टॉक ले लिया. 50,000 रुपया है, स्टॉक ले लिया. आपको यहाँ समझना पड़ेगा that in Delhi NCR and especially in Gurgaon, यहाँ लोगों को प्रॉपर्टी से प्यार है. यहाँ पे the first love is property and the first investment they want to make is in a property.
क्यों?
Because that is historic. I think over the last 30, 40 years, and Delhi has given those kind of returns. NCR has given those kind of returns. Gurgaon has given those kind of returns. If you are stuck with a small non-listed player who doesn't have the bandwidth, who doesn't have the capability, who doesn't have the commercial capability, the financial viability to do a project, you are just stuck in it. And I think as they say in stocks, कि स्टॉप लॉस होता है कि भाई आपने 100 रुपए का शेयर खरीदा, वो 80 रुपए का रह गया, आप स्टॉप लॉस अपना करो, बाहर निकल जाओ. So I think the same principle applies here in real estate. If you are stuck in a project, just cut your losses and move on in life. There's no other way.
Cut your losses, get out.
Yes, because again, staying is a risk and there is a cost of capital. If you keep staying, there is a chance you may get an exit at a profit 2, 3, 5 years down the line. But what if you don't? Do you want to be stuck? And NCR has a history of stuck projects for 10 years and failure. So why risk it? Just cut losses and move on.
Gurgaon, you actually made, I think, a pretty bombastic forecast that basically it'll outdo Delhi prices.
It is doing that. I'm saying it is doing that. Today, there are
I basically asked the question to Akash Ori as well in my recent podcast. Do you think Gurgaon can reach a world where they compete with Mumbai in terms of prices and overtake it?
No, I think project to project, some projects have. I don't want to take names, but there are some projects that are selling at a higher price. And I'm saying today what is happening is that people realize the value for money and the kind of amenities and the infrastructure and, as I said, the ecosystem. So I want to talk about one ecosystem that we are developing today. So again, even within Gurgaon, I think the focus is changing. Every city changes over a period of time. Delhi changed over a period of time. Bombay changed over a period of time. And I think Gurgaon also, from its development in the 80s and the 90s, has changed over the last 5 years and will continue to change over the next 10, 15 years. And I am now predicting that very soon people will start finding maybe the Golf Coast Road as dated and are now gravitating towards what we are today calling the SPR, the Southern Peripheral Road, which will now over the next 4-5 years become the new center of Gurgaon.
Why do you say that? Why will
I say that because if you look at the master plan and you throw a dart at the master plan, at the center of the dart, it will touch the SPR. It is the center of infrastructure development. It is the center of ecosystem development. It is the center of connectivity. It is the center of amenities. It is everything that a customer would want. It lies just off the highway. It is along the next big commercial destination. We have a huge land parcel there, which we are developing. It's very close to the airport through the Dwarka Expressway. There's a heliport coming in. There's a jungle safari coming in. So I'm saying from an amenity point of view, from an infrastructure point of view, there's a bullet train station coming in very close to that. There is a rapid rail coming in, elevated corridors, underpasses, flyovers. So I'm saying the future of Gurgaon is SPR. And I think we are coming up with one of the best developments in that area.
Do you expect SPR to be even more premium location than Golf Course Road?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because today, as I said, what was the biggest game changer for Gurgaon? The airport. And today, if you get off the airport and you get into a cab, you will reach SPR faster than any other part of Gurgaon.
Like, Amit, I went to Southern Peripheral to one of the offices when I was commuting to an office. It right now it's in a way a blank canvas. Now that's a strength and a weakness.
Yes.
I remember Mr. Hirandani told me when he was selling the Powai in 1980s that people used to tell him, I'm in the middle of nowhere.
Exactly.
And then his belief was that's a strength, not a weakness.
Yes.
But for every Mr. Hirandani who could pull it off, many others failed. What do you think is really that thing that can make SPR a thriving neighborhood, in your view?
So I think, very rightly said, see, obviously what happens is that there has to be a continued push on infrastructure, which I think the government is also very much committed to. So I don't see any challenge. I think SPR today is one of the biggest risk-free investments that one can look at.
Risk-free?
Yes. Yes.
Signature as a company, they started out as the affordable housing player.
Yes.
Then moved to mid-level housing in 2017. So you started in 2014 as affordable, 2017 as mid-level, and now you're making a move to luxury.
Yes.
How different or how difficult is it to do luxury versus affordable?
No, I think it has been a natural progression for the company. I think when we started off in 2014, that was the demand of the market. When we migrated towards a mid segment. That was the demand of the market. And I think today, as I said, when we are looking at a luxury development and a luxury product, I think that is what the demand of the market is. Trend changes. 20 years ago, I remember when we were selling luxury apartments, the pitch used to be, oh, I've got Italian marble. I've got Rosa Alicante, and I've got Parlato Sicilia, and I've got this fitting, and I've got this woodwork, and I've got this modular kitchen, and I've got this light, and I've got this handle. That narrative has changed. The customer today is more demanding. ये सब तो उसको चाहिए ही चाहिए. But today they want all of this within an ecosystem. They don't want all of this within a 2-acre development or a 3-acre development where you can't give them a club, you can't give them amenities, you can't give them facilities. So today, when we sell to a customer, the customer visualizes himself in that ecosystem, and only then does he buy.
So basically,
I'll tell you the customer journey. Eventually, we are selling an under construction product. So there is literally, except for a sample, nothing else to show. But I'm saying we transform the customer visually into that space where he gets up in his apartment, goes to the club in the morning, goes to his gym. If he's refreshed, he goes for a swim in his pool, comes back, gets ready, walks to work, spends his time in the office, comes back in the evening, goes down, there's a mall within, again, walking distance, goes out for a drink, has his dinner, and comes back. And there is a lush green atmosphere where he can go for his post-dinner walk. So the moment he imagines himself in that ecosystem, his kids have to just walk to school. He has a hospital for his parents, which is very nearby. So he doesn't have to worry about any emergency, school being 1 hour away for his kids, hospitals being 45 minutes away for his parents, or he traveling 1.5 hours to Delhi for work. So all of that ecosystem within walking distance or a 5-minute drive is what is transforming development.
So basically, buyers are now choosing builders who become the de facto municipal corporation for them. Everything is within the municipality. Amit, at this point in Gurgaon, if someone has to buy a home, how much salary should he be earning?
Okay, so again, there's no one answer to this because again, Gurgaon is made up of multiple micro markets with different price points. The Golf Course Road has a different price point. The SPR has a different price point. The Dwarka Expressway has a different price point. But if you were to do a generic number, for a thing, today you have what? A couple who jointly put in a property for say 2.5 crores. Assuming they put in a down payment of their savings over the last few years of say 50 lakhs, 75 lakhs, typically. So if they have a 1.5 crore rupee loan between two people, an EMI of about a lakh and a half. So if you do the mathematics, you come to a number of about 2.5, 3 lakh rupees of a joint income between a husband and wife, which makes it to about a lakh and a half minimum. And if you buy a luxury property, it goes up to 3 to 4 lakhs. So that's the kind of range that you need to be able to buy something in Gurgaon.
So you're saying how much should a salary be if you want to buy a mid-level home, and how much should it be if you want a premium home? Kitna hona chahiye?
So as a couple, I would say if a husband and wife are buying a property, I would say about jointly they should earn about 2.5, 3 lakhs for a mid-segment home. And if it's a premium home, it should be over 5 lakhs or 5 to 6 lakhs between the couple.
And for a luxury home in Gurgaon, kitna hona chahiye?
That will be much higher. More than just pure prices, I think what is more important to see is affordability. And how do you gauge about affordability? Affordability, I will give you a metric. I was reading a report some time ago where people were tracking your EMI to your income ratio. That what is the EMI that you are paying in Bombay versus your total income, and what is your EMI that you are paying in say NCR to your total income. Now that the EMI to income ratio in Bombay was 90% and is now down to about 50%, whereas in Gurgaon NCR it was 55% and is now down to about 30%. Telling you numbers which can be verified.
So you're saying despite the Gurgaon home prices going up 3 times in 3 years.
Yes.
Affordability in Gurgaon has actually gone up.
Yes.
But our salary is rising so much in Gurgaon that...
No, it is not just salary. So again, I think, as I said, historically, people in NCR, when they're buying into a property, and this is again, I'll give you something which I feel is correct. I've not read this anywhere. So typically, a large part of buyers in Bombay are migrants. People, young professionals who shift to Bombay to work in Bombay, they start off their careers leasing out property, then they save some money, then they buy a property. So therefore, their EMI to income ratio is higher. Whereas in NCR and typically in Delhi and Gurgaon, people who are buying properties have an inherited asset or a previous asset which they are selling, and they're adding money, and then therefore their EMI is lower. So they already have a base on which they are building.
When I was reading a report on Signature Global. Tell me, is it a strength to be a listed company or a weakness to be listed, given the nature of real estate business alongside the compliance issues that are there?
Very good question. So, in life, there are some things which are in art and there are some things which are in science. And obviously, the challenge is that you walk that thin line between art and science. So, I think even on the real estate side, there is a real estate business and there is a listed company ops work to be done. So I think obviously the challenge is that we have to continue being a real estate developer while being a listed entity. I know so many developers across the country who are more listed and focused on their listed operations ops than on the real estate business. And that suffers. Their consumers suffer, their construction quality suffers, their end users suffer. But if you look at their stock prices are 5 times in the last 5 years. And there are investors who say, oh, I should have rather bought their stock than their apartment. And conversely, there are investors who say, oh, I should have rather bought their apartment than their stock, because their stock prices don't go up, but their apartment prices have shot through the roof.
I can think of 2 or 3 names just when you gave that.
Really?
Yeah, just as for
I don't know any names.
That basically the focus is more on the stock market than on the real estate operations. Image of real estate changed in your view? Hand on heart.
Of course it has. Immensely it has changed. I think I have been doing real estate from the mid-90s. So I know what real estate was 25, 27 years ago, and I know what real estate is today.
What is the perception then? What is the perception now, according to you?
Very, very different. I think real estate professionals तो थे ही नहीं ना पहले. वो तो आप तो या तो बिल्डर थे या ब्रोकर थे. आपने वो हिंदी पिक्चर देखी हुई है, या तो आप ब्रोकर थे या पार्टी थे. But today, people are seeing us as professionals who have a purpose and who have an intent, and we are being accepted as professionals.
Why is it that I see so many projects in Gurgaon where, like for a 40-floor building, the possession date or completion date on RERA is like 2032, 2033, 7-8 years?
I think you've picked up the right thing that needs to be identified and highlighted in Gurgaon. I think today, there is this set of developers whose focus and target consumer is not the end user, but the investor. And therefore, they want to kind of keep a buffer for them and ensure that even if they're getting in more investors, the investors have a long enough rope to exit, and therefore they want to keep extra timelines for that. So I think this just shows intent. And if they construct fast, their investors actually come back to them and say कि जी आप इतनी जल्दी क्यों बना रहे हो? हल्के बनाओ, हमारे पास अभी इतना पेमेंट करने के लिए नहीं है.
What's the one big differentiator between a developer who can deliver well versus a developer who doesn't do well? What does that guy... Is it just a supervision game? Is it the thing of investment in the right people, right product, right materials? What is it?
No gyan. One thing, intent. If you have the right intent, you will do well. And as I said, real estate is a business where the most important thing is intent. And I think that is what we have got right in Signature Global. I think the management is intent upon building a company that meets all needs.
So Amit is saying intent अगर ठीक है तो delivery हो जाएगा.
नियत ठीक होनी चाहिए. उसके बाद सब अच्छा होगा.
Okay. On that note, Amit, thank you for coming on Unravel.
Good luck. It was a pleasure having you and being on your show. Look forward.
Good luck.
Thank you.